Okay, so welcome to this webinar. What I'm going to just do first of all is share my screen with you, and then you'll be able to see the lovely Helen on screen. So there we go. Thanks for joining us, Helen, for this webinar. Really feel privileged for you to be here, so thank you, and thanks for sharing your thoughts on sort of how we are at the moment with the coronavirus and the lockdown. I'm just going to read out a little bit of a statement about you, Helen, and I have got part of this from the website, the Ramsdens website. So Helen is head of family law at Ramsdens Solicitors and has been a respected member of the family law community for more than 18 years. Helen deals with all work relating to the breakdown of relationships and the division of relationship finances, including cases involving high-value complex assets. She's a member of the Law Society's Advanced Family Law Panel, a member of Resolution, and active member of the Kirklees and Calderdale Collaborative Family Law Group and the Constructive Separation Solutions for Wakefield and Pontefract. Helen is incredibly committed to helping her communities and to her philanthropic activity. She's currently on the committee of the Bling Fling Ladies Lunch in aid of Forget-Me-Not Children's Hospice, and regularly gets involved in other local charity events supported by Ramsdens Solicitors. Helen was a finalist in the Law Society Excellence Award in 2014 as Legal Businesswoman of the Year, and is recommended in the Legal 500 in 2020. Helen is regularly receiving fantastic reviews and feedback. For example, one on the Ramsdens Solicitors website, which says Helen Thewlis is exceptionally talented and wonderful at her job, giving clear and fair advice to clients. That's just a statement from the website, but I know that to be true. As Helen well knows, I've pointed a few of my friends Helen's way when they've been in challenging times and not really sure where they are with their relationships. And Helen's given excellent advice to those people, whether that's gone on to people finding resolution to that or separation. So what I do know Helen to be is very fair and honest and give sound advice without it being, what can I say, it's not an emotional response, it's a very sound advice. That's not to say you're not an emotional person sort of thing, but I know that the advice that you give is very grounded and very central, and it's looking at both parties to a situation. Thankfully, I haven't been in that position, but if I ever was, I know where I'd be coming. Hopefully that'll never happen, Helen. Okay, so as I say, thanks for joining us, and what we're going to do is just go through a few questions now, and these are questions that were kind of, I know Helen's had a few of these put to her already, or part of her team have had these questions. So first off, Helen, co-parenting in the coronavirus, can children go between households to see other parents? And what advice do you have for separated parents?
Well, certainly, Janet, that was a question that we got asked a considerable amount in the first few days of lockdown. And then we received guidance from the government to say that children can move between households during the lockdown period, obviously providing it is safe for them to do so. And if they're in a situation whereby, for whatever reason, they can't move between parents, then ultimately other methods of communication should be used. They can use Skype, they can use Zoom, they can telephone each other, but wherever possible, providing it is safe, children should be seeing both mum and dad, even in the current circumstances.
It must be a hard situation, I think, to be in, and I'd never really considered it because we've not had that situation ourselves, and I'd made the assumption that child would have to stay with one parent rather than be between one and in between two. So it's good that there is that option, but it never really concerned. It never really, I never really thought about that being the case where children could go between two households.
Yeah, they can do, Janet, providing it's safe for obviously both the parent and the children.
So do you have any other advice for separated parents then, other than making sure there is connection and there is communication ongoing?
Communication is always the key point when any parents separate, that they really must try and communicate. And they've obviously had differences between themselves, but parents really do need to focus on the children and what is in the child's best interests, both now and in the future, because there can be considerable amount of damage caused to children when mums and dads are arguing or not allowing one parent to see the child, and the children remember those problems, and that ultimately can have an impact on them in the future and their ability to have relationships. So it really is a case of park your own issues between the adults, and you've got children together, and do please try and remember what's in their best interest, and providing it's safe, it's a child's basic human right that they should have a relationship with both mum and dad and both maternal and paternal family, because obviously there's extended relatives in children's lives as well, grandparents, aunties, uncles, all who can play a very, very important part in a child's life.
I was saying to somebody last week on Friday that, you know, in years to come, I mean, I always remember, I'm that old, I always remember being at school and seeing the Apollo landing, and it's just something that will always stick in my mind, being at that age. I think that this, you know, this period right now is something that people will always remember, as particularly as children. And I think it's, you know, it is important that they come back with as many happy memories, if you like, at this time. It is difficult for everybody, but there are things that we can do to make that as a happy memory as possible, rather than it being not a nice memory, let's say. So thanks for that one. Next question is, which is an interesting one. Can you still issue divorce proceedings at the moment? Yes,
you can do. The courts have really gone to an online system anyway prior to this occurring, so divorce petitions can be issued online. The courts are still open for business. They are still processing all the papers, so yes, proceedings can be issued. They can be issued either via solicitors, or they can be issued online themselves, and the courts are still dealing with hearings as well during this period. So the courts are using either telephone calls, or they're using Skype calls either. So the courts are very much still open and there for business. If you've got any parties who are subjected to domestic abuse, those applications can also be made all remotely. Everything can now be dealt with remotely, and we're all learning every day how to do new things from the technical perspective, as are the courts. But yes, the courts are open. Divorce petitions can be issued, and protection orders can also be obtained from the courts, whether that's in respect of children or adults.
Have you seen any delays then? Is it any slower process, or is it?
The courts have been, unfortunately, working. The courts have unfortunately been working to a delay now for a long time, Janet, even before lockdown. However, I do have to say that they are processing some papers very, very quickly now, and I certainly know that if people are applying for the decree absolute, which is their final document in a divorce, they're pretty much sending those back now by return. We understand that the courts have said that those have to be processed pretty much immediately.
Okay, well, that's good news, really, I guess, because we don't want added stress on top of everything else. I think really people just probably want some resolution to stuff, I would imagine, normal circumstances, so they don't want anything added on top of that. So it's good to hear that things are working as normal as possible, let's say. So that's okay. So next question is, which is not a very nice one, but domestic violence has risen during this pandemic. What can people do if they're suffering from domestic abuse?
Well, I mean, the first thing to remember, Janet, is that the police are still there. The police must be the first point of contact. If somebody's in danger, then they need to call 999 and get the police there to protect them immediately. They can then contact solicitors who can obtain protection orders for them. The refuges are still open. There's lots of charities who are still out there, who are there to assist anybody who's been subjected to domestic abuse. It is in the news pretty much every day now in the media to say that domestic abuse is on the increase. Certainly, you know, unfortunately, we've seen a rise in that kind of work, but the charities are still there. And like I said, the first point of call must always be to contact the police if you're fearful for your safety.
It must be a horrendous position to be in, but it's good to know that there is some support out there, and things are happening as normal as possible. But it can't be very nice to be in that situation. I don't think, if you're stuck at home and that's not really where safety is for you. I would imagine it's quite stressful.
And of course, Janet, it's also the impact on the children as well.
Well, yeah, not a good situation to be in. Oh, so I would assume that the answer to the next question is yes, because you're on this call. But is Ramsdens open during the crisis? Is it operating as much normal as possible, or, you know, are there some departments that are not working? Do you know?
No, all the firms open, Janet. Most people are working remotely. The vast majority of people are working from home. I myself am coming into the office every day, just so that I can deal with the post. I can scan orders through to everybody. There's only a few people in each office. I'm just sat on my own floor, so very quiet these days. But no, the business is open as it normally would be. We've got switchboards, they're being answered. So if anybody needs any help, they can either contact us over the phone or by email, and then that will be sent to the relevant person who will contact them. That may be that they're working from home, or that is the odd person working safely at a safe distance in the office. Like I said, I'm here, but there's nobody else on my floor, and I don't even need to really meet anybody any day. So it's entirely safe for me to be here.
It's interesting, just before we went live on the webinar, we were just sort of talking about how quickly people have had to adapt to new technology and find new ways of working. But it's quite surprising how quickly people have adapted, and how people have accepted that technology and found ways to work. And I don't know about you, I mean, I'm working from home now because I don't necessarily need to be in the office. Although I am going in every Monday just to check everything's okay. So I've been in this Monday morning and just checked everything that was okay. But I don't necessarily need to work from the office. We've always sort of found it quite easy just to pick up and work wherever we need to be. So it wasn't such a transition for us, but I know for a lot of businesses it probably was a little bit more complex. And I would imagine potentially for a solicitor's practice, then there's going to be a more in terms of that data protection is much more important. I mean, it's not that it's not important to us, but everything that we do is kind of online. So we don't really have a lot of physical records. You probably don't either. I'm sure it's probably most things are online these days, but it's interesting to see how we've all adapted.
And
we all adapt back to going into an office.
And we're all going to learn quite a lot, aren't we, Janet, from what's been happening and the situation we're in. And it's going to give people a lot more flexibility. I mean, we had everybody up and running really within a week from home, which was absolutely tremendous. And if that had been something that we would probably try to do, it would have taken us forever. But because we had to do it, our staff were absolutely amazing and just embraced it and got on with it. And with technology nowadays, it's true that you really can do so much online. And then even if it's calls through Zoom or calls through, I've been using quite a lot of WhatsApp calls, video calls, because I just find that very easy to use. So you can still be in touch with all of your teams. You can still interact with your clients. It's just strange not having people around you. But, you know, we're a month into this now and I'm sort of getting used to it.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, and I think for me, I know that I've managed to do a lot more work. Not that I don't. You know, I actually do value those interruptions, let's say, and we have two weekly half-hour catch-ups. They're not team meetings; they're just catch-ups, just to face with each other and just, you know, how's your weekend, that kind of thing. So I think they're as important as anything. But actually being at home, I've worked from home before, so it's not new to me. So it's kind of, I'm used to it, and I can get on with it. But yeah, some people don't adapt to it quite so easily. But that's great to hear that Ramsdens have managed to adapt so quickly. But I wouldn't have expected anything less, to be honest. So, you know, I knew you'd kind of get on with it straight away, really. So, and the sooner we better. We have to embrace it. We have to change. We have to adapt. We don't know what's going to happen in the future and stuff. So, yeah, it's interesting. Okay, final question for you. Nothing to do with work related as such, but more to do with the things that you get involved with. So I know that Ramsdens do a lot of charity work, and I'm always blown away by the amount that I see on social media of the things that you get involved in. You are one of the few businesses that I know that if there's any sort of charity or event happening out there, or something that's happening community wise, you're the first ones on it, and that's lovely to see everybody getting behind that. And it's not, I know it's not, well, as a business, we need to do this. It's all the teams just getting on board and getting behind it and just seeing how they can engage and get on with the community, which is fantastic. And you know that I'm keen on getting involved in community things as well and charity events as much as possible. So, but tell me more about the things that you get involved in particular the Bling Fling. What's happening this year with the Bling Fling?
Well, unfortunately, the Bling Fling was meant to be next week, so that has obviously in the circumstances been postponed, but we have actually got a new date for it now, which is going to be on November the 13th. So we still have something to look forward to and aim towards, because as you will be aware, Janet, you know, all charities are suffering considerably at this moment in time, and so it's crucial that we all continue to try and help the charities wherever possible. And certainly from the Forget-Me-Nots perspective, you know, they're absolutely delighted that the Bling Fling for this year can be rescheduled, and so that is now going to take place on the 13th of November. There'll have to be some tweaking, because not necessarily all of the acts that we'd asked to be there could be there again, but certainly we're all still getting our heads together. We're having our meetings by Zoom to try and ensure that the event is as successful as it was last year. As you're aware, we raised £22,000 last year for the Forget-Me-Not, which was, for a lunchtime do, absolutely incredible, and we hope to be able to beat that this year. It's all down to local people, isn't it? And people being generous, giving their time, giving their support, and giving their donations. I think we're very fortunate in the area that we live in, Janet, that we do have a lot of people who are generous with their time and with donations and gifts and whatever it may be, because every single thing helps.
So is there still tickets available? How can people get involved?
At the moment, we're still just waiting to find out. The event had sold out in May. So we're just waiting to just finalise to see if everybody who had already booked the tables want to rebook and are available again on the 13th of November. So more information will probably be put out in the next month or so in respect of whether there are any tables still available.
Okay, and in terms of people donating goods to that, and is it the same venue as last year, or
it's again, it's going to be at the venue at Dean Clough Mills. They're very generous in allowing us to utilise that, and if anybody has got any donations or any gifts, they can either get in touch with myself, or they can go on the Bling Fling website, or contact the charity themselves, the Forget-Me-Not, and they'd be more than happy to take anything in.
That's lovely. That's fantastic. Thank you for that. So that's great to hear. Thanks for your input into this, Helen. That's been really appreciated. And you know, as always, I'm always delighted to speak to you and hear what you've got to say. And obviously, I hope the Bling Fling goes well. I'm sure it will. I'm sure even if let's hope we're not in lockdown at that point, but if we are, I'm sure you'll find ways to do it online.
I'll have to do something.
There'll be something, I'm sure, you know, as we've adapted to the ways that we work now. I think we're seeing loads of different things that are being adapted in lots of different ways. I've seen conferences online, full day conferences now online. It's just amazing, and to see how people are adapting to just keeping together and keep things going. So I do hope that all goes well for that, and thank you for your input today. So that's really appreciated.
No, thank you, Janet, and hope you and all the social progress team are all doing well as well.
Yeah, we're all well, we're all good, and busier than ever. We're very, very fortunate, and we feel very fortunate and very, very privileged to be in the position that we are in. That yes, we have had some businesses that some of our clients that have kind of put us on hold, if you like, but very few, I have to say. Majority of our clients are still working with us on an ongoing basis. An odd one, but there's never been a better time to be on
Absolutely.
Media, because there's so many people that are in front of the screen. However, I do also appreciate that not everybody has got that money to just put towards that process, if you like. It's about balance and working out, actually, am I prepared to invest some money in some online activity? But if they haven't, there's no pressure from us as an organisation. We just have to work with what we've got and the clients that we have. But at this moment in time, nobody's furloughed, everybody's fine, everybody's working fine. We've got sufficient money coming in to pay people going out the other side. So we're all good. We're just
that's brilliant.
Careful with the money, let's say. And so as long as we do that, we should be okay. But like every business, we're taking every day, every week as it comes.
Yeah.
And we don't, you know, we're not taking it for granted. We're absolutely very appreciative of the work that we've got coming in. So, and we know it's not the same for everybody. So, and we are very much aware of that as well. So, yeah.
Excellent. That's great to hear.
Thank you for your time, Helen. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome.